may seem early to talk about the FIFA 23 beta, but it's a lot closer than you think. A closed beta will start rolling out towards the end of July, and this will go all the way through to the middle of August, giving enough time for EA to implement any changes they feel are necessary before the release in late September or beginning of October. This means we're only 1 month away from all of this happening, and in this video we will go over everything that you need to know. Before we do get into the video though, if you're looking to get some very easy coins for FIFA 22, and then there is no better place than Mule Factory. Head over there to get yourself some cheap fast coins, completely reliable, and if you use Fnatic 5 at checkout, you'll also get yourself a 5% discount. Link can be found in the description down below. Getting back into the video, EA releases a closed beta every single year. This is a great way for them to test the game, with there also being a bit more hype within the community, as this is also the time in which there's a lot of information being released. And of course, when there is a lot of information being released, there's quite a lot of players that want to be the first to get their hands on the game. And the closed beta is the very first chance. But unfortunately, not everyone's going to be able to get this. In fact, it's a very small percentage of people that will be able to try and test out FIFA 23 during this time. For those that don't know, a closed beta is an opportunity for EA to test the game before the release. Some people have always believed that it is just another way for EA to promote the game, but in all honesty, if they were looking to do this, they'll just keep it as an open playtest, very much in the same way that they do for Battlefield. But with FIFA, it's always been a closed beta, and the only way that you can be accepted into this is if EA themselves invite you. So normally how this works, just before the closed beta takes place, EA will send you an email. This email will contain all the information that you need to know. It will tell you that you have been selected to join a FIFA 23 closed beta. It will then list out what they intend to do and how you're a part of it, and right at the bottom there will be a code. A code which you can use on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Stadia, whatever it is for you to then download that game. It won't be available right at that moment, but you can pre-download it ready for once the test is open for the public that you can then go and use. This is all about testing, so alongside that email, which does include your game code, you will also be invited to the EA forums. This is not the normal EA forums that we have where anyone can post anything. This is only for those that have been selected to be part of the FIFA 23 closed beta, so that all information stays within the selected group that EA have selected, whilst EA can also gather community feedback as they try to roll out different types of tests ready for the game so that they can get it all prepared before the release in September or beginning of October. There are some things worth mentioning before we do go any further. If you do get selected to be part of the closed beta, make sure that you do not share any gameplay, whether this be a picture to your friends, or even if you're going to be recording the gameplay and uploading it to the likes of YouTube, or even live streaming it to the likes of Twitch. You will have access to the current version of the game, but there's a few slight differences. There are things in place to make sure that you do not share any secret information. When you actually sign up and accept that code to log on to FIFA 23 for the very first time during this beta, you're also accepting the terms and conditions of an NDA. And for EA to hold you responsible to your NDA, they will also put a watermark above the gameplay which you cannot get rid of, and this will include either your gamer tag or a specific code which then links directly back to your account. So if you are looking to record the gameplay and share it on YouTube, it's difficult to get around because you would need to edit every single frame to get rid of that watermark, which is constantly moving. And if you don't, EA are going to be able to know exactly who shared that gameplay and when. The best thing for you to do is just follow the rules, because if you do get caught, they're immediately going to ban you from the closed beta, and on top of that, it lowers your chances of you being selected ever again within the future. It's also recommended not to share your closed beta code with friends or anyone else for that matter. This isn't just a code that anyone can redeem. Very similar to the previous point, it is connected directly to your account. You have been selected specifically for this closed beta, and they want you specifically to play through it. So you can't share that code unless you was also sharing that whole account with friends or complete strangers. This is why it's also advised not to buy any codes from anyone. There's actually quite a lot of people that try to sell their codes during this stage, and some of them can actually go for a decent amount of money. To save yourself from being scammed, don't buy the code, because they may even give you the correct code, but it has to be played on that account, and unless they're going to give the account along with it, which is extremely unlikely, it means that you're going to get screwed over. The only place that you can share information, recordings, pictures, or anything like that is with the closed FIFA 23 forum that comes along with it, and you'll be given a link to that in the email that does contain your closed beta code. So with all of that out the way, what type of players get selected for this beta? And unfortunately, it is no one in particular. It doesn't matter of your gender, your age, your location, or the platform that you're playing on. EA wants to get a variety of different players, all varying in experience when it comes to FIFA 23, so that they can get a lot of information whether or not it's good for hardcore players or it's good for beginners. In previous years, when I've said this, there's been people within the comment sections that say the people who play the most should be the ones selected because they do play the most. They're better at the game and understand it more. Surely those are the people that are going to have a better idea of the game and give feedback which is actually helpful to the community, rather than there being a load of not so good players asking for more assistance within game just because they're not good enough to win a game. And the response to this, and EA have even responded to it in the past, it's not about making a game just for hardcore players. It's about making a game that can be used by as many people as possible, whether this is your very first year playing FIFA or whether or not you've been playing it for the last 10-15 years. The only thing that really seems to have an effect on whether or not you're selected comes down to the types of game modes that you play. If you play Volta more than Foot, you have a much higher chance of getting a code which gives you access to Volta rather than other game modes. And that should also be highlighted. Just because you get a beta code does not mean that you have access to the full game. Some people will have access to the full game. This is Ultimate Team, Career Mode, Volta, Pro Clubs, and any other type of game mode that EA is looking to add on top. Whereas others, they may be limited on their selection. They may only have one and they don't have a choice in which one they get. If you do want to be strategic about it, you could start playing game modes which not so many other people play. So we all know that Ultimate Team is the most popular game mode within the game. So you can go and use Volta or Pro Clubs, which isn't as popular. Just because there's less people playing it, you should have a higher chance of being selected. But then it is the case that if you are selected, it might mean that you get given those game modes which isn't your favorite. And with that said, now is the time in which we go through and how you increase your chances of actually getting one of these codes. Unfortunately, there's not one thing that you can do which will guarantee you access, but there are a few things that you can do. Firstly, you need to have a good relationship with EA. If you've been suspended or even banned within the past, you do have a lower chance. Of course, it's too late to go back on this, but what you could do now is create a completely new account, start from fresh, just so that you're on good terms with that new account. Don't break any rules, and this will put you on a level playing field the same as everyone else. It might sound silly, but there's been quite a few people that's made this mistake in the past, is making sure that you do have an up-to-date email address, which also includes updating it on Origin. The amount of times that I've seen before, and this happens every single year, where people complain that they weren't selected to be part of the beta and they spend so many hours in the game only to realize a few weeks later, once the closed beta has ended, that they did get an email, it just went to a completely different account, or it went to their main account, it just ended up within the spam folder. This happens every single year, so hopefully by me telling you, it lowers the chances of it happening to you. It's also worth taking 5 minutes just to log in to your Origin account, go over to your settings, and then opt in to EA playtesting. Now, most of the time, EA will send you an email about locations based on your location where you can go and do playtesting events. For me, it's always been about going down to Guildford to play UFC. Some people have said within the past that this makes no difference as it is based on locational playtesting, but it's still something that I opt in to do just in case. Especially considering it takes less than 5 minutes to do, and if it doesn't give you what you're actually wanting and it is just these locational based playtests, well, you just don't go to them. It's quite simple. And then the last thing that you can do to really increase your chances of being selected is to create multiple accounts. This is something that I did last year, and I did actually get selected for 2 of those accounts. One of them being Disfoot Fanatic and another one being one of my very first accounts that I ever created when I first started Xbox many years ago. You still need to follow all of those previous rules that I just said, but by creating multiple accounts, by law, it just increases your chances of being selected. Still not guaranteed, but it is a lot higher than if you did just have the one. The last thing to say is if you are one of the very lucky few which is able to go and get one of these codes and get access, everything that you see is not final. I did play the FIFA 22 beta last year and there was a lot of stuff which did carry over to the main game, but there was also a hell of a lot of stuff which was different. Gameplay felt completely different. The beta that I played felt so much slower compared to the gameplay which was there on release. It's so hard to tell what will actually be within the final game and what won't, because the current test is all about player feedback, and after that test, that is when EA has a month and a half to implement any changes. Anyway guys, here is everything that you need to know about the FIFA 23 closed beta. If you do have any questions about anything, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. But anyway guys, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. But for now, I'm going to see ya.